It's the International Soccer Preview. We are Soccerphiles Canada. Welcome to Series 31, looking at the players of the 2025 African Cup. This episode is looking at the players of Morocco. Part 2, the selections. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the International Soccer Preview by Soccerphiles Canada. I'm Kevin and this is a continuation of Series 31 on the players of the 2025 African Cup. This episode is part 2 of our coverage of Morocco's players. The final roster is released and we're looking at the selections of Morocco. So in part 1, we compiled a list of players and their likelihood of reaching the squad. That was based mostly on their participation from after the 2023 African Cup in January of 2024 there, up until the October 2025 games. We did consider a few other factors as well. And in part 1, we also gave some career information on the players to help you to get to know them better. In part 2, our focus here is on the selections, especially the final selections. Before we move on, though, we want to let you know that in the springtime of 2026, probably April, we will start producing episodes for the 2026 World Cup, which takes place, of course, in the summer. So keep an eye out for that, or better yet, subscribe to the channel, and it'll notify you when the episodes come out. The mediacast we're doing today is divided into 3 sections. So section 1 is team information. Section 2, let me see, hang on. It's the main part of the mediacast, of course. We review the list that we compiled in part 1. And we'll tell you who made the preliminary squad, if there is one, and the final squad. There's not really one for Morocco. We also tried to predict the starters. So we took steps towards that in part 1 by providing a narrative of each position over the period. So today we'll give the lineups in games played after the October 2025 games to see if they give us any further clues as to who will start. And then finally we'll be able to make our predictions on the starters. In section 3, we'll start with a spotlight review. That's a quick run through the players who made the squad and our predicted starters. And we'll also emphasize some surprise selections, non-selections, and new players added to the squad, as well as updating on Morocco's many injuries. All right, let us jump right in to part 1. Oh, sorry, that's not part 1, that's section 1, team information. So in part 1, we looked at a few team things, club affiliations of players, the games they played over the recent period, and their preferred formations. Here we're focusing on what the team published. Most teams in the previous cup released a preliminary or provisional squad of up to 55 players. Teams had to submit that to CAF this time, but most teams didn't make that public. It seemed that it had some negative effects on the teams, and we won't get into that. But Morocco just released their 28-player squad. They also named 2 reserve players. Those players can only be brought in to cover an injury. So we have 28 players in the final squad, and basically the closest thing we get to a preliminary squad is a 30-man preliminary squad. We'll call it that. Okay, so before we move on to section 2 and see who those players were, let's take a look at the games they played after October of 2025. Well, this blank slate is what we put up in the in part 1 here. So now those games have been played, and 2 friendlies then in November. The first one, both of them were in Morocco. The first one was a win over Mozambique, and the second one a win over Uganda, 4-0. in that case. We're not really interested in the results, to be honest. We're really more interested in the lineups for those games. We were interested in the Arab Cup as well, but only in as far as any of the players, only in as far as it would help us to predict the players of the Cup. However, they used a B team for that tournament, so none of the players playing in that tournament will be playing in this tournament here. Actually, the manager was in charge of the first game, Walid Regraoui, in charge of the first game. Then it seemed like an assistant manager kind of took over and guided them through the rest of the Cup. In fact, Morocco did win the title. I will put the scores up on the YouTube, but to be honest, I don't want to focus on it because it kind of drags us off topic there. So I think we're ready. I think we'll just have the November games there to guide us in terms of predicting starters, and we're ready to move on to section 2, our main business of the candidates and selections. So let's begin with the manager. Walid Regraoui. Again, in part 1, we kind of summarized the management situation over the past few years. We won't be doing that here, but we will call Walid Regraoui as having successfully made the squad because he wasn't fired or anything before the tournament. So Walid Regraoui, we're going to highlight in green once my computer lets me do that. My computer's running a bit slow here. And we move on to goalkeepers. So for goalkeepers, we had a definite candidate in two definite candidates, Yassine Bounou and Munir Mohand, sometimes called Munir Mohammadi or just Munir. Both of those were selected for the final squad. And we had no candidates at the likely level, but perhaps battling it out for the third string keeper role was Mehdi Benabid at the possible level and El Mehdi Al Harar. Well, it was El Mehdi Al Harar that won the battle. He was selected for the squad. Mehdi Benabid played in the Arab Cup there. Okay, let's go to sorry, I put something in the wrong place here, so that messed up my mind. Okay, so that's it. Those are the three goalkeepers they're bringing to the Cup, and we had the possible but unlikely Rashid Ghanimi, and then seemingly off the squad, Salah Eddin Chihab. They may have made it to the 55-man preliminary squad, but we don't have access to that. And so what we will do here now is talk about the predicted starters. So going into the, or at the end of part 2, we didn't actually talk about starters, but we did kind of have them in our mind or actually written down here. We had Yassine Bounou as a definite starter and Munir Mohand as the backup keeper. Let's take a look at the recent games here. And we have Yassine Bounou starting both of those games. So that just reinforces our thinking. We're going to use little stars here to indicate our likelihood. So we're going to put 3 stars. That means definite. We're going to put that next to Yassine Bounou. We'd be surprised if he didn't start. Okay, let's move on to central defense here. And we'll just maybe name the candidates here. At the definite level, we have no candidates. 3 of them at the likely level: Nayaf Aguerd, Jawad Al Yamik, and Adam Messina. He's actually a left back, but he's been playing in central defense over this period. And yeah, well, as we go through them, we'll let you know. So Nayaf Aguerd selected for the squad. Jawad Al Yamik also selected, and Adam Messina, all 3 of our likely candidates making the final cut there. At the possible level, we have Abdel Abkar. He did not make the squad. And in fact, none of our other candidates, so two possible but unlikely candidates, Jamal Harkas and Chadi Riyad, and then the seemingly off the squad players, Yunus Abdel Hamid, Ashraf Dari, and wait a minute, Romain Saiz. Surprise here. We had him seemingly off the squad, last appearing in June of 2024. We thought he had kind of retired from international soccer. I mean, I'm pretty sure that is what happened, that he retired and was persuaded to come back. But big surprise there, Romain Saiz coming back into the team. So we're going to introduce him because we didn't that much in the previous podcast. But there's another player we have to introduce because it's a new candidate who was also selected to the squad. It is Abdelhamid Ait Boudlal. Abdelhamid Ait Boudlal. So let's introduce those candidates. Well, Romain Saiz, if you know Morocco, needs no introduction. He was captain of the team for a long time. He's been with Morocco since 2012 with 83 caps and 3 goals and is 35 years old now. He is playing for Al Sadd in Qatar. It is one of the bigger teams in Qatar. And prior to that, he's been with Besiktas in Turkey, Wolverhampton in England, and a few smaller or medium-sized French clubs. Romain Saiz was born in France and has been part of tournaments since the 2017 African Cup, always a starter in them, and from looks like African Cup 2021. Was the captain of the team. So he's gone through African Cups, 4 of them, and 2 World Cups as well. So they thought they had lost that experience in June of 2024, but here he is back for his 5th African Cup. So Romain Saiz. The new candidate is Abdelhamid Ait Boudlal, new to Morocco since 2025. And plays for Reims in France since 2025, actually loaned to Amiens this year as well. So Moroccan-born Ait Boudlal probably will be on the bench or maybe subbing in, but probably not a starter. So there we have it. Let's talk about who we think are going to be starters. Well, at the end of part 1, Romain Saiz was not in our thoughts. And we had a little difficulty here, actually. You'd have to go back to part 1 to listen to the reasoning. But we had all 3 of our likely candidates as likely starters, perhaps rotating or perhaps starting in a 3-man defense. That's Nayef Aguerd, Jawad Al-Yamik, and Adam Messina. But perhaps the recent games will inform us. Well, they do, because they take into account Romain Saiz, who started both of them, and alongside Jawad Al-Yamik. So that revises our predictions there. Let's go get my dots here, get my little stars. We're going to say that those 2, Al-Yamik and Romain Saiz, are likely starters. And then Nayef Aguerd and Adam Messina are possible starters here. It may even be that Adam Messina goes back to the left side. But still, that's not that many candidates for central defence. So still a little thin. So perhaps Messina will still be over playing in central defence there. Let's go to the position he usually plays, left back, or the position Messina is coded at. So he hasn't played there over this period. And who do we have here? Well, we have no definite candidates, but we have a likely candidate in Youssef Balamari. But a bit of a surprise here. He was only selected as one of the backup players, so one of the reserve players, Yusuf Bellamari. So not making the final squad, even though he actually is on the list. So I'm a little bit confused. I thought he wouldn't be on the list for the final squad, but he is there. Um, but he is a reserve player. At the portable level, we have two candidates, Mohamed Chibi and Soufiane El Karouani. And Mohamed Chibi made the squad, El Karouani did not. Two possible but unlikely candidates, Yahya Atiyat Allah and Adam Asnu, neither of those making the squad. But we do have a new candidate in Anas Salah Eddin. So we should introduce him because we didn't know about him in part one. He's with Morocco. He got his first cap in 2025. He's 23 years old, Salah Eddin, and is with, or at least on the roster of Roma in Italy since 2025, but is in fact on loan to PSV Eindhoven in the Netherlands. That's where he has played most of his soccer because Salah Eddin was born there. Prior to Roma, he was with 20 in the Netherlands, 20. And that is Anas Salah Eddin. Of course, no tournament experience for him, but he'll get some now. Let's talk about the starting position here. We weren't too sure after doing part one. We just put Yusuf Bellamari as a possible starter. And let's take a look at the recent games. It was Anas Salah Eddin starting both of those games. So, of course, with Yusuf Bellamari not selected for the main squad there, Salah Eddin getting some experience. So that's pretty interesting. And we now revise our prediction to Anas Salah Eddin as the likely starter. So let's put a couple of stars by him. 2 stars is likely. So unexpected changes there on the left side. Let's take a look at the right side and see what we have. We have as a definite candidate Ashraf Hakimi. However, he was a bit of an injury concern there. And I might as well tell you about it. He was out with an ankle sprain since early November and predicted to be back on December 24th. So that meant if that was correct, he would have missed the first game. Actually, he remained on the injury list up until the start of the tournament, but he has been declared fit and said he feels ready to play. However, given that they play Comoros in the first game, I really wouldn't be surprised if they rested him that game and kind of saved him for the tougher fixtures there. Anyway, Hakim Ashraf, captain of the team, and selected for the final squad. Basically, it was a matter of his fitness as far as that went. At the likely level, we had no candidates. But at the possible level, we had 2. The first one was Noussair Mazraoui. He also had been struggling with injuries over the period, but was back in action shortly after the October break. So we had him on our list because he was out for the October games, but is back in action and selected for the squad. Omar Al-Hilali, on the other hand, did not make the final cut. And our possible but unlikely candidate, Zachariah Al-Ouadi, also not making the cut. He was an injury concern, actually, too. We'll leave that one for section 3 when we take a look at injuries. Okay, so for the right back starting position, at the end of part 1, Hakimi wasn't injured at that time, so we thought he would be the definite starter, with Mazraoui playing the backup role if he was fit. In the recent games of the friendlies in November, though, Hakimi was out injured, so Noussair Mazraoui started both of those games. Nevertheless, we still think It's pretty much the same order, but we do think that uh, Ashraf Hakimi might miss the first game. So we've moved him down to the likely starter, and then possible starter Nusayr Mazraoui. But really, he'll just be stepping in until Hakimi is back in shape. So we're going to give 2 stars to Ashraf Hakimi, and then possible starter status 1 star to Nusayr Mazraoui. That is it for the defense. Let's move on upfield and to the defensive midfield here. And we'll look at the candidates. We had no, and really not a big difference between defensive and central midfielders here, but we just go by the coding that they have. So we have among the defensive midfielders, no definite candidate, but a likely candidate in Sofian Amrabat, and he was selected for the final squad. So was the other likely candidate, Usama Targalin. And he had been an injury concern, a head injury from early November. He was expected back in mid-November, and indeed he was playing for his club in mid-November. So that injury seems to be behind him, and Usama Targalin selected for the squad. The possible candidate, Usama El Azouzi, not selected, and nor were the 2 possible but unlikely candidates, Amir Richardson and Anas Bach. We'll do central midfielders as well here. Definite candidate, Ismail Sabari was selected for the final squad. And we had 2 likely candidates here, Azadine Unahi and Neil Ainawi. Both of those successfully making the final squad there. So that leaves us with we have one seemingly off the squad here. That was Salim Amala, and he was not selected for the squad. And that does make up all the candidates. So we're left with 5 midfielders, pretty much, very much the ones we expected. Now, in terms of predicting starters, that was a little difficult for us to do. What we thought at the end of part 1 is that any one, 4 of them could be possible starters: Amrabat, Saiberi, Unahi, or Ainui. So maybe the recent games will inform our opinions a bit. Both games were a 4-3-3 formation, and it was Amrabat, Unahi, and El Ainui in both games, all 3 of them starting there, with Amrabat in the middle, Unahi on the left, and Ainui on the right. So that is informing us that we think the likely starters will be Amrabat, Unahi, and Ainui. So we'll give those players 2 stars. And then we think Ismail Sabari, well, we'll give him kind of a possible start in the central midfield, but it might be that he starts in another position as well. So I think we're going to run into him further upfield as well. That's it for central midfield. Let's move on to attacking midfield, and we begin with the left attacking position. And here we have 2 definite candidates in Elias Ben Sagir and in Abdi Ezalzouli. Both of those were selected for the final squad. Just catching up with my graphics here. Okay, they are highlighted in green, indicating that they were selected. We had 2 possible candidates, Amin Adli and Osame Sarawi. Neither of those selected for the squad. And two seemingly off the squad players. I want to mention one of them. I read a report in on the internet, and it's like, oh my goodness, Soufiane Boufal didn't make the squad. We're going to see the same with Hakim Ziyech on the other side. But the fact is, if you had listened to part one of the podcast, you would know that he last appeared in the previous African Cup, hasn't been on the team for basically 2 years. So it's not a surprise at all that he was not selected for the squad. Tarek Tissoudali, also not selected for the squad, but I saw he was playing in the Arab Cup there as a centre forward, I think. Anyway, just the two candidates here then, Ben Seguir and Ez Al-Zouli. And we also said in part one that Ben Seguir started a lot of games on the left, but actually moved over to the right side. So we might see him there. And for that reason, we had Ez Al-Zouli as the likely starter and just a possible Elias Ben Seguir just as a possible starter. I think I'm saying way too much. Sorry about that. Recent games, Abdi Ez Al-Zouli started the first game, and it was central midfielder Ismail Sabari starting the second as a left attacking midfielder. So as we said, we might see Sabari somewhere else on the field. We see him here. And I think our predictions don't really change because of that. We'll still put Abdi Ez Al-Zouli as the likely starter, and it still is possible that Elias Ben Seguir starts over here. I don't really see Ismail Sabari as a left winger. I suppose it's possible after he started the last game there, but we're not going to give it much credence. So we'll put Ez Al-Zouli as the likely starter here, and Ben Seguir as a possible starter. He also might appear elsewhere on the field, though. Moving over to the right side, we have a definite candidate in Brahim Diaz. He was selected for the squad there. Our likely candidate, Ilyas Akomash, also selected for the squad. Possible candidate, Shamsuddin Talbi, was selected as well. So we have three players over here. Possible but unlikely, Zakaria Abuklal, not selected. And again, seemingly off the squad by our count, Hakim Ziyech was well off the squad. He last appeared in September of 2024. So we didn't expect him at all, to be honest. But it looks like the manager had to justify those decisions to the press because people less familiar with the team expected to see them. Let's talk about starters over here. So after part one, we thought Brahim Diaz was a likely starter, and we thought the possible starter over here would be left attacking midfielder Elias Ben Seguir. Looking at the recent games, on the right side, we have Brahim Diaz starting both of those games. So we are going to move him up to being a definite starter. And we'll leave it at that. We think it's possible that one of the other players here, or perhaps more likely an out-of-position player, might start in the position. But we're putting all of our weight behind. We're spending all of our bet on Brahim Diaz here. Let's move to central attackers, central attacking midfielders. We have moved a couple of players. If you were looking at the YouTube, you might have noticed Brahim Diaz is coded as a central attacking or an attacking midfielder, but we moved him because he plays on the right primarily, almost exclusively, I think. So we are left here with another definite candidate, though, Bilal El Khanous, who was selected for the squad. We also have the only other one we have here is Amin Harrit, and he's seemingly off the squad and was not selected for the squad. So we can go straight to predictions. Well, what we predicted for this central attacking midfield position is that they won't use this position. They tend to prefer a 4-3-3 formation, so it tends to be a more central midfielder and not a 4-2-3-1 formation. There. If they do use it, though, we think Brahim Diaz is as likely as Bilal El Khanouch, but probably both of those players would start somewhere else in a different formation. So that's it for the midfield. We move on to forwards, and we have no secondary strikers, so we go directly to centre forwards. Here we have a definite or two definite candidates in Ayoub El Kabi and Youssef En-Nesyri, and unsurprisingly, both of them were selected for the final squad here. We have a likely candidate in Hamza Igamain, and he is the second of our reserve players. So again, on one roster, the one I rely on mostly, he's actually on the roster, which doesn't make sense. They're not allowed to have 30 players. So he is a reserve player. Our possible candidate, Soufiane Rahimi, was selected for the final squad ahead of Igamane. So Soufiane Rahimi going to be on the squad. And that's it. So all we need to do is the predictions for this one. Going or after part one of the mediacast, we thought that it was equally likely Ayoub El Kabi and Youssef En-Nesyri. They kind of alternated in the position. When we look at the recent games, it doesn't tell us much. Ayoub El Kabi started the first one, and Hamza Igamain started the second, but he wasn't named to the final squad. So perhaps they were just giving him a final look at there. So we revise our opinion, or we don't revise our opinion. It remains an equal chance, we think. Perhaps El Kabi having a slightly better chance, but we see it fairly even. So we're going to give both of them, we're going to put a likely tag on both of them there. Okay, that's it. That's the end of section 2 and our look at the players. So we move into section 3, and we want to welcome listeners to the short version of the media cast here. We're going to begin with our spotlight review. That is a race through what we covered in sections 1 and 2 of the full version. We're going to go back and look at the list we compiled and tell you who the candidates who made it are and who we think the starters are going to be. So we begin with manager Walid Regragui. He will lead them through the cup. We consider him a successful selection for the squad, I guess. Goalkeepers, we had two definite candidates, Yassine Bounou and Munir Mohand, or Munir Mohammadi, or just Munir. Both of those were selected for the squad. We had no candidates at the likely level, but two possible candidates, Mehdi Benabid and El Mehdi Al Harar. It was the latter who made the squad, the final cut. Mehdi Benabid, though, did play in the African Cup at the beginning of January, a tournament which they won. We won't talk about the lower possibility candidates as we race through here, so let's move on to central defence. We had no definite candidates there, but three likely candidates, Nayef Aguerd, Jawad El Yamik, and Adam Messina. And yeah, I don't think we'll mention the candidates who didn't make the squad unless it's significant. But one that is significant was seemingly off the squad, Romain Saiss. the veteran coming back into the picture, and chosen also starting both of the November games. So that leads us thinking that Romain Saiss and his partner in the November games, Jawad El Yamik, are likely starters, but we do think Naif Aguerd and Adam Messina are possible starters here. We also had a new player added to the squad, and that was newcomer Abdel Hamid Eight Boudlal. There, but we don't think he will be a starter. And it strikes me that I forgot to talk about starters with the goalkeeper, so we'll just race back and do that. We put all of our 3 stars, which means definite, behind Yassine Bouno. We think that will be, he will definitely be the starter. Okay, let's go on to left backs here. And we had no definite candidate. We had a likely candidate in Youssef Belhamari, but he was only selected as a reserve player. So if someone gets injured, he will come into the squad. But otherwise, it's more like he's on the preliminary squad there. So that was a bit of a surprise. Instead, possible candidate Mohamed Chibi was selected for the squad. However, the other possible candidate, Soufiane El Karouani, not selected for the final squad. We didn't get a preliminary squad for Morocco, even though they have to give one, hand one into CAF. They didn't make it public. And actually for left backs, we also have a new candidate, Anas Salah-Eddin. And actually, we think he's likely to be the starter. He started both of the November games there. So I was pretty neglected not mentioning him. Over to the right side, we have a definite candidate in Ashraf Hakimi, who was selected. And the first of our possible candidates, Nusayr Mazraoui, also was selected, but Omar El Hilali, also a possible candidate here, not selected for the final squad. And what we think in terms of starters here is that Ashraf Hakimi is the definite starter, but we put him as likely because we think he may not start the game against Comoros because he's coming off an injury. So it would be prudent for them to maybe use Mazraoui in that opening game, and then when Hakimi is has a bit more time to recover, will come in as the starter. That's what we think is going to happen. But we're often wrong. Let's move up to the midfield there with defensive midfielders. We're going to do defensive and central midfield at the same time. But in terms of the players' coding, for defensive midfielders, we had no definite candidates, but 2 likely candidates, Sofiane Amrabat and Oussama Targalin. Both of those were selected for the final squad. Possible candidate Oussama El Azouzi not making the cut there. Central midfielders, we did have a definite candidate. It was Ismail Sabari, and 2 likely candidates, Azzedine Ounahi and Neil Al-Ainoui, all 3 of those making the cut. In terms of starters, we think it could be a 3-man midfield. It could be kind of a bit of a rotation among the candidates here. But going into the tournament, we put Amrabat and Ounahi as likely starters, as well as Al-Ainoui and Ismail Sabari just as a possible starter, although he may start elsewhere on the field. We wouldn't be surprised to see him there. He started as a left attacker in one of the November friendlies there. Okay, on we go upfield to the attacking midfield, and we begin with left attackers, and we have 2 definite candidates here, Elias Ben Sagir and Abdi Ezalzouli. Both of those selected for the squad. The 2 possible candidates, Amin Adli and Osame Sahraoui, neither of those selected for the squad. And the press seemed to be surprised that seemingly off the squad, Soufiane Boufal was not selected, but we were not surprised. He's been off the squad for a while there. In terms of starters, we think Abdi Ez Al Zuli is likely and Ben Sagir is possible there. Over to the right, attacking midfield, we have a definite candidate in Brahim Diaz, who was selected for the squad. So was likely candidate Ilyas Akomac and possible candidate Chemsedine Talbi. Also selected for the squad. But even though there are three right attackers over here, we think Brahim Diaz is a definite candidate. So quite confident about that. Coded as attacking midfielder, we view as central attackers, or we put them in the central attacking. We have a definite candidate in Bilal Al-Kanous. So we thought he'd definitely be selected. And he was. We don't think they're going to use that position, though. So he may start somewhere else on the field, but really has only started a third of the games over the period. So we have no stars to hand out here. Let's move to the forward line. And we had two definite candidates, Ayub El Kabi and Yusuf N. Nesri. Both of those were selected for the squad. We had a likely candidate in Hamza Igamane, or Igamane, and he was just selected for the reserve squad. So he was one of the two reserve players there. So a bit of a surprise. Instead, the possible candidate, Soufiane Rahimi, was the one that was selected for the final squad. So that's it, our race through the squad. Let's move on to some other business. A review of surprises then in the squad. We have two players. Well, it's both of the reserve squad members who we're a bit surprised by because we thought they were likely candidates. So that is left back Yusuf Bellamari and forward Hamza Igamane. Both of those basically not selected for the squad, just for the reserve squad. If someone's injured, they'll come in. Surprise inclusions, of course, is the return of Romain Saiss. We had him seemingly off the squad because he last appeared in June of 2024. We thought he was retired from international play. In fact, we would argue that he was, and he's kind of come out of retirement for this tournament. New players, just two of them. One of them is centre-back Abdelhamid Eight Boudlal. And the other one, and we think he's going to be a substitute, but the other one actually looks like he's going to be a starter, Anas Salah Eddin, the left back there, plays for Roma in Italy. And those are the new players. Let's update injuries here. We're going to use a revised injury list, so we'll go through this quite quickly. Nusayr Mazraoui actually was struggling with issues over most of the period. A heart problem in October 2024, a knock over the summer, and then a muscle injury in September, October of 2025. But he seems to have recovered now and has been playing for his club recently, back in action actually shortly after the October break. So Nusayr Mazraoui, who was selected for the squad, we will put him in the recovered from injury section. We had Oussama Targaline. He was a likely candidate for us, the defensive midfielder, out with a head injury from early November. So I think he missed the November friendlies there, but he was expected back in mid-November and indeed did come back and was playing for his squad in mid-November. So we'll also put Oussama Targaline, who was selected for the squad, has recovered from injury. Right attacking midfielder Zakaria Abouklal had been struggling with a thigh problem since mid-October, was expected to be recovered for mid-November and actually did recover from injury, but was not selected for the squad. He was just at the possible but unlikely level here. So we'll put him in the injured but was not a strong candidate category, but that's a bit inaccurate because he is he is not injured anymore. We had Ashraf Hakimi as a close call. We knew in part one that he was out with an ankle sprain since early November, and was not expected back at that time until December 2024. Now he has been declared fit and says he feels ready to play. As we said, though, we think he might be rested for the first game there. But anyway, he is recovered from injury here. Jawad El Yamik, the central defender, was an unknown situation. He was out with abductor pain since mid-October. That was after the international games in October there, but he had an unknown return date. But it turned out that he came back on November 7th. So El Yamik also recovered from injury and selected for the final squad. He had been a likely candidate there. Right back, Zakaria El Ouadi was out with a shoulder injury from early October, an unknown return date, but he was only a possible but unlikely candidate for us here. So we'll put him in the injured but not a strong candidate there. And also in that category is centre back Ashraf Dari. He was injured, had an unknown injury since September of 2025 with an unknown return date. But given that he was seemingly off the squad, we don't think injury was the reason he was not selected. For new injuries, we have central defender Abdel Abkar. He joined the injury list very late here, just in after December 15th. No, he joined the injury list. Anyway, sometime between when we did the last media cast and now. The point is, he did play for his team on December 13th. Yeah, I'm getting all of this wrong. Now I know what happened. He was added to the injury list after December 13th, but he had played for his team on December 13th, which was after when the squad was chosen. So the fact that he wasn't selected did not play a role, or the injury didn't play a role in his non-selection. Boy, I had a tough time getting that one out, didn't I? Anyway, we'll put Abdel Abkar, even though he was a possible candidate, injured but not a strong candidate. We shouldn't even put him on the list. His injury happened after the team was selected. Okay, woo, that was a tough one. Injuries then, we are done, and that brings us to the end of our look, part two of Morocco's players. Now you know who is going to be on the squad. You can argue with your friends that Hakim Ziyech and Soufiane Boufal are not, in fact, surprise non-selections, and you can feel good about yourself that you're in the know. Okay, that brings us to the end of part two of our look at Morocco. We would like to thank Pixabay and Cold Fingers for the wonderful music used in this media cast. The title of the piece is Eid Mubarak.